Response video to Andy. Okay. So the first 4 minutes or so of this video, he's just basically asking me for this explanation of what I think human nature is, what I have as reasonable expectations for this animal called human, and why I have those expectations, or what I understand the mechanism to be. And I've sort of explained this before, but I have used this phraseology in the past many times. I've described human beings as having a lizard brain, an ape brain, and then the human brain. And I would say that the lizard is the worst of the animals, right? I mean, it's just hungry and horny, and it really just doesn't have any other ethics. It doesn't worry about, it's only 12 years old, you can't bite it. I mean, it doesn't have any morality or any kind of ethics. It's just a machine. And it has a very crude desire mechanism. And then you have this ape thing, the metaphor ape, which would be, now we have this thing that lives in a tribe, and it has all kinds of conditioned, that's our conditioned nature. But yeah, it has all these emotions, all these controlling emotions, attachments and love, I would say, but they're full of these prejudices, full of bigotries, full of doing it the way your tribe identifies it to be the right way to do it. It's almost the cultural habits, could almost be put in the ape category. But later I would say that culture is something else. It has a more, it has another element to it in terms of this meme idea. And that's the human. The human's the meme idea. So I tend to say, okay, we are better than the lizard, but frankly, nihilists are lizards. Okay, nihilists are lizards, and I would argue that Nietzscheism is lizard philosophy. All right, it's a philosophy that just basically says it's about my DNA, it's about my comfort, it's about my aggrandizement, and the game is to just dominate, be superior, and replicate that superiority. It's a very Malthusian. It's a very, there's nothing, there's no ethical guidepost, and that's bad. It's not intelligent. And the ape does a little better because it has these mechanisms of forced improvement. They're forced by the biology. The biology incites these things called empathy and caring and love and attachment, but these mechanisms have a parallel to a kind of rationality. It's a little closer to the practical truth that your interests are broader than your interests. And so now the genetics has kind of moved into a notion that there's more that this is about than just an individual's genetics. It's about a kind of genetics, a family of genetics, a tribe of genetics, a species of genetic. And but the negative of that is it's just nepotism and nationalism and tribalism and all the isms. And so then again you go, this next step, the human step, I would argue is the sort of the Spock-Kirk conflict, would be the human against the ape. The human against the monkey, the human, the logic against the emotions, and that's the duality, that's the conflict. The emotions are governed essentially by these conditioned mechanisms, these mechanisms of tradition, just passed down for no other reason than they're passed down. They don't pass a test. Cultures don't have to earn their credibility every year. Habits don't have to earn credibility every year. They're just a matter of, grandfathered in all the time. They don't have to retake their authority test. And that's a fundamental flaw in our character, is that, there is no contest. It's just built on this tradition, this inheritance problem. It's not a good way to hand over the keys through inheritance. Things should be earned, and cultures don't earn their keep. And I'm going to argue that the philosophical notions that are tied to culture are what I'm basically arguing with. And yeah, So anyway, my language, the way I intend it, you know, when I call you an asshole, yeah, I'm just expressing a contempt. I mean, it's an honest contempt. Yeah, I think you people will cause suffering in the world, more suffering to happen in the world. I think this placation of human emotions and human gluttony and human piggery is totally destructive and will essentially cause rapes and pillages and horrors to take place. I think you're totally destructive. I think you're going to cause innocent victims to be harmed. So yeah, I think of you as being Nazis or child molesters. You might as well be. You might as well just be a rapist. That's the level of contempt I have for the vile puke that you spit onto the airways. I have to sit here and waste my time having to refute silly arguments that we can't help being monkeys, that somehow logically we can't understand that, oh yeah, okay, I'm conscious, they're conscious. I don't like feeling bad, they don't like feeling bad. I mean, these aren't complex. This isn't complex math. And of course I should have some sort of frustration and irritation that I have to explain something that basic, because assholes like you are going to try to say humans can't see that. Humans can't understand that they have to take within a realm of efficiency, that they can't just take something, they have to exchange for it. They have to produce value when they take value. If you're going to impose harm, you have to produce something of value to justify it. You can't create a victim unless you have a cause to justify the victim creation. I mean, this isn't complex ethics. It's dirt simple, and it just has to do with a simple ability to recognize that there's more than one stakeholder here. That there's more than one thing deserving attention, and that's just pure logic. That's just Spockian logic. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the one. I mean, it's trideism. You know, I knew it when I was 7 years old. I didn't need to have Spock tell it to me, but it's just goddamn true. You have to do your math in the environment you exist in. You can't do it in isolation because you're not isolated. So anyway, so yeah, my expectation would be that if Tyrannosaurus acquired intelligence first, years, you know, hundreds of millions of years ago, if they became intelligent and started doing what we're doing, learning, discovering the world, you know, drinking their tea with their pinkies out, I would expect them to have conversations about these same things. I mean, should we be stupid bugs? Should we behave like lizards, or should we try to be better than that? You know, they would look at their nature and say, look how we're constructed. We're constructed to be assholes. We can do better than that. I would expect them to have the conversation. I would expect intelligence, knowledge, wisdom to change their nature. For them to reject the building, the construct that they exist in, and for them to say, no, I'm going to be something better than a stupid thing with a mouth and an ass. I'm going to be more than a walking flatworm. Because they're intelligent. So to tell me what's human nature, I don't care what human nature is. If our nature was to be actual goddamn assassin bugs, if we were assassin bugs, I would expect us, if they acquired intelligence, for them to acknowledge it. Acknowledge what intelligence reveals. That the bug they're eating is not a lesser being than they are. And that if they can find some other way to gain their sustenance, they shouldn't do it through sticking a needle in some other thing's guts and sucking the juice out. That it's bullshit. That it's not efficient. That it's insufficiently efficient. And they have to find a way of living that's more efficient, or they have to turn off the car because it's not efficient enough. I would expect them to be able to do that logic. That's the implications of knowledge. That's the implications of being educated and informed, understanding. And again, it's I understand you are of the Nietzschean perspective, which is I'm going to deny what knowledge teaches me, and I'm going to revert back into a bug. And that's why I used it as a metaphor, because that's all you're doing. You're just saying that I don't want to fight it. I don't want to have to remake it. And I don't think, and yes, you have the futility to say you somehow can't, which again I'll say is nonsense. That's just bullshit. That's just a cop-out. Again, Martin Luther King, you know, if everybody told him he can't, if he bought into some sort of I can't philosophy, we know what the world would look like without him. So I mean, well, who knows, but you know what I mean. In principle, right? Civil rights was a good idea. So you know, let's you know, it's just stupid to say it can't be done, or there can't be change, or there can't be. No, of course there can. And all it takes is I have a dream speeches. All it takes is the right words at the right time by the right person. The things that change the world are just so bizarrely incidental sometimes, so powerful. You know, the bomb of a sentence. So it's just bullshit to say whatever will be will be. No, what we make it is what it will be. And we're only going to make it something if we know we can make it something, and if we will it to be something. And your philosophy defeats all of that, and that's why I have contempt for it. It's in the way of progress. It's in the way of any hope of achieving more efficiency, better efficiency. I mean, it can only happen because people see it as something that must happen. And you've abdicated. Alright, so I'll play the second half of this. I haven't heard it yet.
Human beings have a fundamental nature. Is it reasonable to expect us to act in a way that is fundamentally inconsistent with that nature?
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, so by what comparison? I mean, I can give you a description of zillions of different kinds of human beings. From Gandhi to a slave owner to a woman in a ball dress to... I mean, I give you examples of a ton of variety of human beings. Human beings come in a huge variety. There's a person who no doubt has jumped on a grenade in wartime to save his pals. I can give you examples of human beings that do... There's people right now, you know, there's hero firemen and stuff. I mean, I don't want to say there's any hero cops, but yeah, there's hero firemen. There's heroes in the mine. There's all kinds of great examples of a human being, of a model human being. So yeah, of course, at any time we can be that person. There's nothing stopping us from migrating into another human being, but understanding. Okay, and understanding just takes, okay, I hear somebody say something, it makes sense. The needs of the many outweighs the needs of the one. You know, the few or the one. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. It clicks and say, okay. I mean, maybe they need to like Mr. Spock. Maybe they need to hear Carl Sagan say it. Maybe they need some other kind of bullshit. But the point is these words have power. People can change overnight, quickly, snap of the fingers. The world changes. It all change in just 2 days. It all change in a week. You can all catch on. It all goes viral. I mean, that's the power of memes. That's the power of what we're working with. It's just ideas. All you need is a few celebrity endorsements, and there you go. The Sisyphus ball is rolling somewhere else. Again, reverting to nature is kind of bogus, because we've seen human beings completely suppress their nature, and without much difficulty. Rejecting your nature is not that hard to do.
Now,
let me just point out that, you know, I didn't say the word selfishness too many times, right? I don't think I said it at all yet. But I mean, that's basically our nature, right? The lizard would certainly be horribly selfish, and the ape is fundamentally selfish, with the added proviso that it also cares about things it considers cute or its property. So it's possessive about its women and its kids and its stuff. Okay, but that's all sort of selfish, right? Even though it sort of looks like it's being altruistic and caring, it's really just about, it's my harem, it's my property, and it just doesn't want anybody else fucking with its shit. So it's pretty much horrifically selfish. So that, we could say, is the nature of the animal. any animal, including the human animal, that selfishness is its nature. The selfish gene.
I wouldn't say that there's anything wrong with expecting us to sort of be better than what we are.
Well, it'd be silly to say there's something wrong with us being better than what we are, right? I mean, that would be just totally preposterous of you to say there's something wrong with doing that. So there you would lose entirely. Your argument is that somehow it's too much work, or it's too difficult, or it's not possible. That's your argument. The fact that it would be great if I could just snap my fingers and we're all instantly 10% better, yeah, it'd be hard to argue against that, wouldn't it? Yeah, it would.
That's, that hope springs eternal, that sort of thing. But if we...
Yeah, well, hope is a necessary step to getting anything done, right? I mean, hopelessness won't get you too far. You're not going to win too many wars if you're hopeless.
We are, say, I don't know, if we are an A, is it reasonable to get sort of judgmental of us? If we cannot be, we can't find it in ourselves to be a B.
Well, I guess it just kind of depends, right? If you can't find it within yourself, right? I'm not passing judgment again for failing. I'm passing judgment for people who are denying. All right? So there's a huge difference, right? I'm not telling people to be vegetarians. I'm just saying don't defend eating meat with preposterous lies. I mean, don't start talking about gorilla teeth and other kinds of absolute bullshit, right? When, yeah, I mean, the truth is, yeah, gorillas have huge, monstrous, gigantic, harsh, brutal teeth. And they're not there to chew anything. They're there to defend, to fight. I mean, so, don't, I mean, that's the argument here, okay? I'm not telling you to be, say you were a compulsive rapist. And I tried to explain to you, look, women are people too, fucker. And you were just like, yeah, I know they are, and I feel bad about it afterwards, and but I just can't help it. I mean, I get a little stiffy, and I just can't stop myself. Well, there's a point where I just say, well, then we're just going to have to shoot you because you're a menace. I don't give a fuck about you feeling guilt, though. I don't give a fuck about you feeling bad or any of this other shit. I'm just saying there's a point where you're a menace. And frankly, I'm not asking you to be a good person, but if you're gonna talk shit and try to pollute the minds of, especially young impressionable minds with nihilist crap, well, I'm gonna call you a motherfucking asshole. That's what I'm gonna do. An evil motherfucking asshole.
Is there any point in me judging a mouse for not being able to pull a plow that's designed for a horse, in other words?
Well, I just think that's a preposterous example. Again, like I said, this isn't complex math, right? It's just basically admitting, okay, I admit the other people feel. Okay, I admit the animals are sentient. Yes, mammals is what we basically are. And the only thing different between me and them is I can add numbers and do a few of these little exchange things, but yes, they have the same emotions as I do. They fear. If I put a great ape on a gurney and threaten it with experimentation that it's had before that's hurt, it's going to scream and yell just as loud as a human being. That's the reality. It's going to suffer. And yeah, if you don't want to acknowledge the existence of suffering, you want to pretend it's some sort of subjective thing that we can just make it go away, especially when it's somebody else's suffering, yeah, I'm going to say that's so fundamentally illogical, that you're so illogical and so fucking full of shit that I can't, what am I going to say? You're so duplicitous and you're so full of hypocrisy and duplicity that your brain is broken. You are fucking retarded or you're fucking insane. But you're one of those two things. And with the two word in front of it. 2-0-0. Too retarded. Too insane. For me to have anything other than contempt.
Can we hold something responsible for not being something?
Yes, we can always hold it responsible. That's right. And especially in a world where we know other things are watching. So yes, as long as there's a deterrent effect in holding it responsible, yes, we hold it responsible. And that's the truth of our world. If we hold things responsible, other people see that and they say, ooh, I don't want to be held responsible. And then they avoid doing something preposterously stupid.
That is not consistent with its nature. That's where the guilt comes in.
Well, again, so this word guilt and responsibility. So apparently you're using the word guilt when I want to use the word responsibility and vice versa or something. And so let's just say you're saying that that's the concept I'm concerned with. I want people to behave responsibly. And I think responsibility is easy. And I think it's the capacity to understand it is so grotesquely available that somebody can only not see it on purpose. So that would be the argument, that they are so owned by their selfishness that they are essentially insanely selfish. They're egomaniacally dangerous.
We have characteristics that lead us to be compared, even if, somewhat facetiously and with poetic license, to cockroaches and monkeys. And yet, when we...
Well, like I said, monkeys was almost too kind, because human beings have become something even worse. Like I say, even monkeys aren't nihilists. They're completely invested in their family life and in their social life and all of that stuff, so there's no nihilism available to them. And there's certainly no arguments about subjective values and all this kind of bullshit. They don't have all these escape hatches. So in a sense, I'm just saying, if you want to go... What nihilists are, what Nietzscheisms are lizards. You're lizards. I'm sorry, Nietzsche's philosophy was essentially a lizard's philosophy. It goes further down the evolutionary scale.
Behave like cockroaches and monkeys. Is it consistent to judge us for it?
Well, again, if you had no intelligence, I'd say, no, I can't judge you. Okay, but you do have an intelligence. You have plenty of access to movies and themes and ideas. You've heard Mr. Spock say the words and you've rejected them. Now, if you don't give me a reason why you've rejected them, some sort of rational reason to reject them, then I have to assume that you're rejecting them out of, like, again, a maniacal process, where you're disavowing logic and reason. You're saying, no, I will not be logical and reason. I'm a selfish motherfucker, and that's all I'm going to goddamn be. I'm lizard, I'm lizard, I'm lizard. Intelligence will not fit, and if I'm ever going to have any intelligence, it's just going to be like ways to pick locks. The only intelligence I want is ways to pick locks and ways to kill people without them screaming, and I just want the most maniacal tools available to me through intelligence. I want to be a schemer and a wheeler and a dealer and a backstabber extraordinaire. But I don't want to have any other kind of intelligence, especially any intelligence that's going to give me any sense of my responsibility to the world or the environment or anybody else. And of course I'm going to say that's nonsense. If you do that on purpose, you're insane. You're just fucking insane.
Old line from The Merchant of Venice, "Thou hast called me dog, even though thou hast no cause, since I am a dog, however, beware my fangs." It's Shylock from The Merchant of Venice.
Who cares?
Is
Not
it
me.
reasonable to expect a mouse to pull a plow designed for a horse?
Well, again, that's not what I'm expecting. I'm expecting a highly educated brain, 10,000 years of knowledge acquisition, to be capable of adding 2 plus 2 without allowing their selfish bias to say it's not 4. That's all.
Is it reasonable to expect human beings to be other than what they are?
Well, again, yes, of course it is. What they are, again, they're lizards. We have a long lineage. I mean, you didn't want genealogy lessons, but it's about genealogy. It's about our lineage. We were actual lizards. We were. All right, we crawled on all fours not too long ago. This brain did that. I mean, a very similar mechanism did that. My ancestors did that. So that's what I'm built on. That's the foundation of my function. And yeah, we can obviously do a lot better than that.
And even if it is reasonable to expect us to try, is it reasonable to judge us for failure? Or even to suggest that we're not trying hard enough?
Yeah, you call a retard. That's what it is. You call a bad driver a bad driver. You call somebody who doesn't take a bath stinky. I mean, yeah, you call a spade, a piece of shit. A human being whose brain is not capable of adding 2 plus 2, you call a dysfunctional piece of shit. You don't do it to make it feel guilty. You do it to just properly identify what it is and put it in the proper fucking goddamn cage.
How hard is it reasonable to ask us to try to act contrary to our own nature? When does that spill over into just guilt? Fundamental, existential guilt.
Well, again, recognizing obligation, you want to say is guilt. Okay, fine. I'm just saying I think that's not a proper interpretation. Guilt has to do with when you are trying. So I'm not going to blame somebody who's trying and fails. You're talking about somebody who doesn't try. Okay? There is no try. There's just fail. So I'm not going to put those in the same category. But yeah, we all drop the ball. We're all not as good as we want to be. We're all not, we all disappoint ourselves, I think. Everybody knows that feeling of disappointing themselves. Okay? So what? What do you do with that? You don't sit there and just wallow in it. No, you sit there and you say, well, what can I do about it? How do I fix it?
You are something. You're not trying hard enough to be something beyond that. That is guilt. There's just no other way to see that.
Well, I'm just saying, if you have to try that hard to add 2 plus 2, then you're too fucking broken. And I don't care whether you feel guilty because I just said you're too fucking broken. I just want you to stop. I just want you to stop being broken. Alright? So yeah, if it would be up to me, that's right. We'd give people the test. They can't add 2 plus 2. Then we put them in a little compacting machine. And that's all. It's over. Fuck you. You're too fucking stupid.
Except guilt. That's why I'm harping on the guilt. I just don't see any other way to look at that.
Well, I think it's just stupid, right? It's like knowing the difference between right and wrong is not that complicated. So yeah, knowing that it ain't right to like gas Jews and shit, right? Most of us could figure that out when we were just little kids. We'd be a little bit queasy about it, even if they were like, it was all Ronald Reagan's or something. I can turn into a lot of monsters and I'm still going to have a hard time saying, oh yeah, let's gas them. It'll be fun to watch them choke to death. Huh? No, it doesn't take any brains not to be an asshole.
Other than setting an expectation that it is not reasonable for humans to meet, and then judging them for not having met that expectation.
Alright, well like I said, these expectations are not high expectations. Acknowledging the fact that you're not the only human being on Earth, acknowledging the fact that you're basically a mammal and there's lots of sentient creatures on Earth, this is not asking way too much from a brain. No, I'm sorry, that's asking very little actually.
Recap. We are compared to cockroaches and monkeys. Presumably you're sincere.
Yes.
What do you mean?
Yes, talk like one, walk like one, eat like one, behave like one, talk, again, advocate for that. Then yeah, that's what you're going to be called. You're basically advocating for a bug's life. We can't be better than our 200 million year old lizard. Yeah, we can't even get to the ape status and do that well, because we broke all the rules of ape life. The real carnage that it involves.
Accurate assessment of your position. Here's your time to retract. What do you believe is the fundamental nature of the human being? And
like I said, the fundamental nature of the human being is this emotional animal, and now we have an intellect. We do have it. It's right there. We have this brain. I know they exist, okay, and I know what they're capable of. E equals mc squared. They're capable of great, powerful, magnificent things, and all they have to do is be inspired to be magnificent. All they have to do is fed to be magnificent. And our culture and icons and talking heads and other pieces of shit are talking people into being assholes. Rather than talking them better, they're talking them into the cellar. Ayn Rand, Nietzsche, these assholes, these bugs, okay, are teaching human beings how to be bugs. They're the problem. The humans aren't the problem. The teachers are the problem.
Do you expect us to be something other than that?
Yes. Yeah, the simple answer is yes. You have the potential to do it. The only thing stopping you from happening is rejection of 2 + 2 = 4 math. Not even challenging at all. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the one. Yeah, not challenging at all.
Thank you.
Okay, you. So anyway, interesting. I mean, at least we're getting some of this nailed down. I mean, you really do think it's human nature to be an asshole. That we can't be smart. Our emotional nature is so dominating and so controlling that even if we have intelligence and even if we know better, we can't behave better. We can't recondition our sensibilities. We can't change our habits. We can't change our traditions. We can't do any of that stuff merely because somebody gives us a good reason to do that stuff. And if somebody gives us a good reason, we understand the good reason, somehow we're allowed to just completely fail. And there's no punishment for failure. Nobody should be called an asshole for failing. Everybody who fails the test should be patted on the behind or the head or whatever, told, oh, good show, good effort. Even if they didn't make any effort at all, even if they just sat there and wanked to the whole class, didn't pay any attention at all, we should reward them for not paying attention, not trying, not giving a fuck, being a nihilist motherfucking cunt. No, I think we should call them assholes at the very minimum. It's not like I have license to go out and do what I really want to do, which is take a big giant wooden mallet, about 10 feet by 10 foot diameter, and just squish them like the bugs that they are. They're fucking bugs. They're behaving like bugs. They're thinking like bugs. They're stinking up the place like bugs. Why the fuck should I treat them any better than a bug? Jesus Christ. I mean, really. 2 + 2 = 4. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the one. But really, consumption, reproduction, consumption, reproduction. Yeah, cannibalism, addiction. Yeah, that's the nature. That's the game we're playing. And as I said in the other video, you could just shorten that to the game is imbecile, the game is stupid, the game is retarded, the game is inefficient, the game is, make 100 dead things are losers, so one thing can say I win for one day and then die of cancer. Yes, it's all preposterously stupid. And anything perpetuating it, anything rolling eggs into the volcano, fuck that asshole. Yeah, all right, that's enough.